The Martian sky blazed orange as a swarm of crystalline pods streaked across its dusty expanse. To the skeleton crew of the HFY colony, it looked like a meteor shower, until the objects changed course mid-flight, clustering together before impacting the red desert with a series of thunderous crashes. Dr. Samira Patel, lead xenobiologist of humanity's first Mars settlement, squinted at the main view screen. "Those aren't rocks," she muttered, reaching for her comm unit. "Control, we're going to need a recon team out there, ASAP." Within the hour, a small convoy of pressurized rovers departed from the dome-shaped HFY base. Dr. Patel sat in the lead vehicle, flanked by Security Officer Jack Chen and geologist Dr. Yuki Tanaka. As they approached the impact site, all three gasped in unison. Scattered across the rust-colored landscape were hundreds of translucent, egg-shaped pods, each about the size of a small car. Many had cracked open upon impact, spilling an iridescent, gelatinous substance onto the Martian soil. "My God," Yuki whispered, her face pressed against the rover's thick glass. "It's moving." Indeed, the shimmering ooze was coalescing, forming distinct shapes that pulsed and undulated. As the team watched in awe, the amorphous blobs gradually took on more defined forms, roughly cylindrical, with tapered ends. "They look like giant slugs," Jack said, his hand instinctively moving to his sidearm. Samira's scientific curiosity overrode any sense of caution. "We need to get out there," she insisted, already reaching for her helmet. Despite Jack's protests, the team soon found themselves standing on the Martian surface, surrounded by the alien visitors. Up close, the creatures were even more fascinating. Their bodies seemed to shift between solid and liquid states, and complex patterns of bioluminescence rippled across their surface. "They're trying to communicate," Samira realized, watching as the light patterns became more organized. She fumbled for her tablet, struggling to capture the rapid sequences. A piercing shriek from Yuki's suit radio made them all jump. "What the hell was that?" Jack demanded, weapon drawn. "Sorry," Yuki winced. "I was trying to broadcast some simple mathematical sequences, see if they'd respond. I think they just solved Fermat's last theorem." In seconds, before they could process this revelation, their comms crackled to life. "HFY to recon team," the tense voice announced. "We're picking up an enormous energy signature entering the solar system. You need to return to base immediately." The journey back to HFY was tense, made more so by their slimy stowaways. Despite Jack's vehement objections, Samira had insisted on bringing 3 of the smaller creatures aboard for study. Now, as alarms blared throughout the colony, she found herself face to face with beings that defied conventional understanding. Colonial Administrator Elena Volkov's hologram flickered to life in the main hall, her expression grim. "People of HFY, I'll be brief. An alien fleet has entered our solar system and is on an intercept course with Mars. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, demanding we turn over a group they call the fugitives or face immediate annihilation." A murmur of panic swept through the assembled colonists. Samira exchanged a worried glance with her teammates, all too aware of the 3 aliens currently residing in the xenobiology lab. Furthermore, Elena continued, her voice tight, "Earth has gone dark. All communications with home have been cut off. We are, for all intents and purposes, on our own." As the implications of their isolation sank in, Samira's tablet chirped. The bioluminescent patterns she'd recorded earlier had finally been processed through the colony's kinolinguistic software. Her eyes widened as she read the translation. "Wait," she shouted, pushing her way to the front of the crowd. "Administrator Volkov, I think I know what's going on. The aliens we found, they're refugees. They're hiding from the fleet that's coming." Elena's hologram turned to face her, eyebrow raised. "Explain, Dr. Patel. Quickly." Samira took a deep breath. "According to this translation, they call themselves the Zarilians. They've fled from something called the Psi Collective. I'm guessing that's our incoming fleet. The Zaralians say they were persecuted for being powerless because they lack psychic abilities. Psychic abilities? Jack scoffed. You can't be serious. I am, Samira insisted. And there's more. The Zaralians chose our solar system specifically. Something about human brainwaves naturally disrupts psychic powers. That's why they're here. We're the only ones who can protect them. A heavy silence fell over the colony. Alina's hologram flickered as she processed this information. Even if what you're saying is true, Dr. Patel, how are we supposed to stand against a fleet capable of cutting off Earth? We're a scientific outpost, not a military installation. As if in answer, alarms blared once more. The colony's AI announced, unidentified object approaching Ares 1. Estimated time to impact, 30 seconds. Panic erupted as colonists scrambled for cover. Samira, however, remained rooted in place, her eyes fixed on her tablet. The bioluminescent patterns were shifting rapidly, forming new sequences. Wait, she shouted again, her voice barely audible over the chaos. They're trying to tell us something. The impact, when it came, was more of a gentle thud than an explosion. Slowly, cautiously, the colonists emerged from their hiding spots. Through the reinforced dome of Ares 1, they could see a sleek, silver object half buried in the Martian soil. It's a ship, Yuki breathed, her face pressed against the glass once more. Samira's tablet chirped again. Her eyes widened as she read the latest translation. It's not just a ship, she announced. It's a gift. The Zaralians say it's packed with advanced technology, faster than light drives, energy shields, weapons capable of repelling the Ptisai collective. Jack let out a low whistle. Well, I'll be damned. The slime balls came through. Alina's hologram flickered back to life, her expression a mixture of hope and determination. Dr. Patel, assemble a team. I want that ship analyzed and operational as quickly as possible. The rest of you, prepare for potential evacuation. If we can't hold off this Psi collective, we may need to find a new home among the stars. As the colonists dispersed, a new sense of purpose filling the air, Samira felt a tug on her sleeve. She looked down to see one of the smaller Zaralians had somehow escaped the lab and made its way to her. Its body rippled with complex light patterns. Samira consulted her tablet, a smile spreading across her face as she read the translation. You're welcome, she said softly. And thank you. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Outside, the Martian wind howled, kicking up swirls of red dust. But within the confines of Ares 1, a spark of hope had been kindled. Humanity's first interstellar alliance was about to be forged in the crucible of crisis, and the galaxy would never be the same. The United Nations Security Council chamber buzzed with tension. Holographic displays flickered, showing real-time footage from Mars, alongside the looming threat of the Psi collective fleet, now just beyond Jupiter's orbit. Ladies and gentlemen, began Secretary General Adaman Kruma, his deep voice cutting through the murmurs, we face an unprecedented crisis. Our Mars colony harbors refugees from an advanced alien civilization, while an even more powerful force threatens our entire solar system. Dr. Samira Patel's hologram appeared, transmitted from Ares 1. The Zaralians have shared more of their technology, she reported. We can now replicate their shape-shifting abilities on a limited scale, but we need a way to hide them on Earth, and fast. A chorus of suggestions erupted, each more outlandish than the last. It was marine biologist Dr. Octavia Cruz who finally cut through the noise. Squids, she said simply. The chamber fell silent, all eyes turning to her. Think about it, Octavia continued, warming to her idea. Cephalopods are already known for their incredible camouflage and shape-shifting abilities. If we disguise the Zaralians as a newly discovered species of squid, we could hide them in plain sight. A slow grin spread across Nkruma's face. Operation Trojan Squid, he mused. I like it. Make it happen. Over the next 72 hours, Earth became a hive of frenzied activity. Oceanographers and genetic engineers worked around the clock, using the Zaralians' own shape-shifting technology to create convincing squid-like forms. Meanwhile, a crack team of social media influencers, led by the infamous Moby Rick, began seeding the internet with rumors of an incredible new deep-sea discovery. Hashtag #DeepSeaSecrets and hashtag Squidgate began trending globally. As the PISA collective fleet entered Mars orbit, demanding the immediate surrender of the fugitives, the first Zaralian transport pods splashed down in Earth's oceans, undetected by the psychic scans sweeping the planet. Octavia stood on the deck of a research vessel in the middle of the Pacific, watching as the first group of disguised Zaralians was released into the water. Their bioluminescent patterns, now mimicking the natural light displays of deep-sea creatures, pulsed with what she hoped was excitement rather than fear. "Good luck, little ones," she whispered, as the last of them disappeared beneath the waves. Thousands of miles away, in his Tokyo apartment, teenage streamer Kenji Sato went live on TwitchTube. "What's up, Squid Squad?" He grinned into the camera. "You won't believe what I found at the pet store today." He panned to a small aquarium, where a single, iridescent squid floated, its tentacles gently waving. Unbeknownst to Kenji, he had just become one of the first civilian hosts for a Zaralian refugee. As Squiddy became an overnight sensation, exotic pet stores around the world were suddenly inundated with requests for these mysterious new cephalopods. The UN's covert distribution network kicked into high gear, ensuring that Zaralians were spread far and wide, integrating into human households under the guise of the latest pet craze. But not everything went smoothly. In a Miami nightclub, Instagram influencer Chloe C. Queen Rodriguez was live-streaming her new pet squid's debut when disaster struck. The startled Zaralian, overwhelmed by the pulsing lights and booming music, momentarily lost control of its form. Chloe's followers watched in shock as Mr. Squiggles briefly morphed into a pulsating blob before quickly reassuming its squid shape. The incident was dismissed as a glitch by most, but it caught the attention of conspiracy theorist and podcaster Buck the Truth Hawkins. "Wake up, sheeple," Buck ranted on his next broadcast. "These ain't no squids. We're being invaded by shape-shifting aliens." As Buck's theories gained traction in certain corners of the internet, UN damage control teams worked overtime. They flooded social media with deep-fake videos of ordinary squids shape-shifting, claiming it was a natural defense mechanism only recently discovered. Marine biologists were pressured to back up these claims, leading to a schism in the scientific community. Dr. Kruz found herself in the uncomfortable position of having to publicly discredit some of her own colleagues who were getting too close to the truth. Meanwhile, the Zaralians were adapting to their new lives on Earth with surprising ease. Their intelligence allowed them to quickly learn and mimic the behaviors of Earth's cephalopods, while their natural bioluminescence made them irresistible to humans seeking exotic pets. In an unexpected twist, the Zaralians began forming symbiotic relationships with their human hosts. Reports started surfacing of squid owners experiencing increased cognitive abilities, enhanced problem-solving skills, and even flashes of what seemed like telepathic communication. Dr. Patel, monitoring the situation from Mars, realized the implications. "They're not just hiding," she reported to the UN Council. "They're integrating. The Zaralians are forming a genuine bond with humanity." But as the Zaralians settled into their new homes, the threat looming over Earth intensified. The HFY Collective, frustrated by their failure to locate the fugitives on Mars, turned their attention to Earth. In a chilling global broadcast, the HFY Collective's leader, a being of pure energy calling itself the Overmind, issued an ultimatum. "Humans of Earth," its telepathic voice boomed in every mind on the planet, "you harbor criminals against the cosmic order. Submit to our scans or face eradication." The UN Security Council reconvened an emergency session. "We need more time," Nkrumah insisted. "The Zaralians are still too exposed." It was then that an unlikely hero stepped forward. Buck, the Truth Hawkins, who had been brought in for questioning due to his uncomfortably accurate theories, cleared his throat. "What if," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "what if we give them what they want? A big old show of submitting to their scans, but it's all just smoke and mirrors." The room fell silent, then erupted in a flurry of discussions. Within hours, Operation Trojan Squid had evolved into Operation Cosmic Bluff. As the PISA collective fleet entered Earth's orbit, humanity put on the performance of a lifetime. In a globally televised event, world leaders stood on stages in every major city, appearing to submit to dramatic psychic scans performed by teams of alleged human psychics. In reality, actors with elaborate props. Behind the scenes, the real work was happening. Zarlians, in their squid disguises, were discreetly moved to shielded underwater facilities. Those that couldn't be moved in time relied on their human hosts to shield them, the budding symbiotic relationship proving stronger than anyone had anticipated. The Overmind watched the spectacle with growing suspicion. As the scans concluded, it demanded to address the human race once more. But before it could speak, a new voice echoed across the globe. A chorus of minds, human and Zarlian, united in defiance. "We are Earth," the voice declared, "and we harbor no fugitives. We harbor friends." The PSI collective reeled, confused by this unexpected psychic resistance. In their moment of hesitation, humanity played its final card. Nkrumah stepped forward, flanked by holographic images of leaders from around the world. Each held a small aquarium containing a squid. "We have nothing to hide," Nkrumah announced, his voice steady. "These are our pets, our companions. If you wish to scan them, be our guests." As the PSI collective's scans washed over the planet, they found exactly what humanity wanted them to see. A world of humans and their unusual, but decidedly terrestrial, pet squids. Operation Trojan Squid had worked. For now, Earth and its new allies were safe. But as the PSI collective fleet reluctantly withdrew, everyone knew this was only the beginning. The real challenge, integrating two species into one society while preparing for the inevitable return of the PSI collective, was just beginning. In aquariums around the world, iridescent tentacles waved, and bioluminescent patterns pulsed with hope for the future. The Oval Office hummed with tension as President Evelyn Chen faced the holographic projection of the Overmind. Its form shimmered and pulsed, a being of pure energy barely contained within human perception. "Your deception is at an end, human," the Overmind's voice reverberated in her mind. "Submit to a full neural scan of your population, or face the consequences." Chen's face remained impassive, years of political poker games serving her well. "And subject my people to an invasive procedure by an alien force? I think not. However," she added, a glimmer in her eye, "we might be open to a more sporting approach." The Overmind's form flickered, curiosity piqued. "Explain." "A series of challenges," Chen proposed. "Games, if you will. Test us. If we pass, you leave our system. If we fail, we submit to your scans." A long moment passed. The Overmind's energy form swirled and eddied. "Agreed," it finally responded. "Prepare your champions. The games begin in 3 rotations of your planet." As the hologram faded, Chen slumped in her chair. Her chief of staff, Marcus Wong, stepped forward. "Madam President, are you sure about this? We're hardly in a position to." "To what, Marcus? To stand against a psychic armada?" Chen interrupted, straightening up. "No, we're buying time. Get me Dr. Petal from Mars. Now." Across the solar system, in the expanded Eris 1 colony, Dr. Samira Patel received the president's call. As Chen explained the situation, a smile spread across Samira's face. "Madam President," she said, excitement bubbling in her voice, "I think we might have just the edge we need. The Zarlians have made a breakthrough." 48 hours later, The world watched as a HFY collective ship descended upon the Olympic Stadium in Neo-Tokyo. From it emerged three beings, a hulking four-armed creature with rippling psychokinetic fields visible around its body, a lithe serpentine entity that seemed to flicker in and out of reality, and a floating orb of pulsating energy. President Chen stepped forward to greet them, flanked by Earth's chosen champions. Yuki Tanaka, the geologist from Mars, her eyes now swirling with an otherworldly iridescence. Jack Chen, the former security officer, his muscular frame practically humming with barely contained energy. And most surprisingly, Kenji Sato, the teenage streamer, looking both terrified and exhilarated. "Welcome to Earth," Chen began, her voice carried across the globe. "We." Her words were cut off as the hulking alien stepped forward, its psychic voice booming. "Enough pleasantries. We begin now. First challenge. Physical combat." Before anyone could react, the alien charged at Jack. The security officer's eyes widened, but he didn't move. Just as the alien's fist was about to connect, Jack slipped. There was no other word for it. One moment he was there, the next he had flowed around the alien's attack like water. The crowd gasped. The alien roared in frustration, unleashing a barrage of psychically enhanced blows. But Jack moved with impossible fluidity, each attack missing by millimeters. Finally, Jack counterattacked. His movements became a blur, striking with precision at points the human eye could barely follow. The alien staggered, then collapsed. The serpentine being hissed, its form solidifying. "Impossible. You bear the mark of the Zaralian symbiosis." Jack grinned, his skin momentarily shimmering with a familiar iridescence. "Let's just say I've made some interesting friends." The Overmind's orb pulsed angrily. "Deception. You've corrupted yourselves with fugitive biology." President Chen stepped forward, her voice steel. "We've allied ourselves with a species seeking asylum. There was no deception. You never asked." A tense moment passed. Finally, the Overmind spoke. "The challenge stands. Continue." The second trial was a test of strategic warfare, played out on a massive holographic battlefield. Yuki Tanaka took the lead, her eyes swirling as she interfaced with the simulation. Her Zaralian-enhanced mind processed battlefield data at incredible speeds, anticipating the psionic commander's moves before they were made. The battle raged for hours, condensed into minutes for the spectators. Massive fleets clashed, planets were besieged and liberated, and reality itself seemed to warp under the strain of psychic weaponry. In the end, Yuki's unorthodox tactics, blending human unpredictability with Zaralian adaptability, won the day. As the simulation faded, the serpentine alien bowed its head in reluctant respect. "You fight, uniquely." Yuki's eyes slowly returned to normal, a tired smile on her face. "We're full of surprises." The final challenge was announced. Technological innovation. The Psy Collective produced a device of mind-bending complexity, a psychic amplifier capable of boosting their already formidable mental powers. Kenji Sato stepped forward, gulping nervously. The teenager had spent the last months in constant communion with his Arlian pet, their minds melding in ways that pushed the boundaries of both species' understanding of consciousness. As Kenji approached the device, his eyes began to glow. The amplifier responded, its intricate parts shifting and realigning. The Psy Collective watched in growing alarm as Kenji, guided by the composite intelligence of human creativity and Zaralian knowledge, began to repurpose their technology. Hours passed in tense silence. Finally, Kenji stepped back, sweat beading on his brow. The device hummed to life, but instead of amplifying psychic power, it began to broadcast a gentle, soothing wave that washed over everyone present. The Overmind's orb pulsed in confusion. What is this?" Kenji smiled tiredly. "It's a bridge," he explained. "A psychic interface that allows communication and understanding between any sentient minds, regardless of their natural psychic ability." The stadium erupted in gasps and murmurs. The Psi Collective representatives huddled, communicating in rapid-fire telepathy. Finally, the Overmind turned to address President Chen. "You have surprised us, humans. This device, it could revolutionize galactic communication, bring understanding to countless species." The orb pulsed thoughtfully. "Perhaps we have been hasty in our judgments." Chen stepped forward, her voice firm but conciliatory. "Then let this be a new beginning. Earth and its allies, including the Zarilians, extend an offer of friendship and cooperation." A tense moment passed. Then, slowly, the Overmind's orb descended to eye level with Chen. "We accept. The Psi Collective withdraws its demands. We have much to discuss, and, it seems, much to learn." As the news spread across the globe and beyond, celebrations erupted. Humans embraced their Zarilian companions, no longer hiding their true nature. In households worldwide, pet squids revealed their true forms to their astounded but often delighted human families. On Mars, Dr. Samira Patel watched the footage with tears in her eyes. A small Zarilian, one of the original refugees, pulsed comfortingly beside her. "We did it," she whispered. "We really did it." The Zarilian's bioluminescent patterns shifted in what Samira had come to recognize as laughter. Its telepathic voice, made clearer by the strengthening bond between their species, echoed in her mind. "No, Doctor," it communicated. "We did it, together. And this is just the beginning." As the sun set on a day that would be remembered in human and Zarilian history for generations to come, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. The galaxy was changing, and humanity, against all odds, found itself at the heart of a new cosmic order. The psychic standoff had ended not in conflict, but in connection, and somewhere in the vast expanse of space, other forgotten, powerless species looked to Earth with newfound hope. The Zarilian Integration Center in New Delhi buzzed with activity. Dr. Samira Patel, now Earth's leading xenobiologist, watched as humans and Zarilians moved through the facility, their movements a dance of curiosity and caution. "Nervous?" asked Jack Chen, appearing beside her. The former security officer now headed Earth's nascent psychic defense force. Samira nodded. "We're about to change everything, Jack. The slime symbiosis program. It's unprecedented." Before Jack could respond, alarms blared. A voice echoed through the facility. Psi Collective fleet detected entering the solar system. "This is not a drill." Samira and Jack exchanged glances. "It's too soon," Samira muttered. "We're not ready." But ready or not, Earth faced a crisis. The Psi Collective, or at least a radical faction of it, had returned. Their message was clear. The Zarilians must be surrendered, and Earth's budding psychic abilities neutralized. In war rooms across the globe, leaders debated strategy. Traditional weapons were useless against the Psi Collective's mental powers. Earth's fledgling psychic defenses, while promising, were untested and few in number. It was Kenji Sato, the teenage streamer turned psychic prodigy, who proposed a radical solution. "We need to scale up the slime symbiosis program," he insisted, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "Not just a few volunteers, but as many as we can manage." The risks were enormous. The slime symbiosis, the bonding of human and Zarilian biology, was still experimental. But faced with annihilation, Earth's leaders made a desperate gamble. A global call went out for volunteers. Millions answered. In hastily converted stadiums, swimming pools, and civic centers around the world, humans and Zarilians came together in a fusion of biology and spirit that would reshape humanity's destiny. Samira stood at the edge of an Olympic-sized pool filled with iridescent slime, addressing the first wave of volunteers. "What you're about to undergo will change you fundamentally," she warned. "You'll be the first line of defense against a power we barely understand. But you'll also be the bridge to a future we can hardly imagine." One by one, The volunteers stepped forward, submerging themselves in the Zarlian biomatrix. The air crackled with psychic energy as human and alien minds melded, unlocking potentials that had lain dormant in both species. As the process unfolded across the globe, the first reports came in. A housewife in Buenos Aires telekinetically lifted her car to save a trapped child. A farmer in Kenya sensed an impending drought and psychically accelerated his crop's growth. A firefighter in Tokyo extinguished a blaze with a thought. But it was Aisha Kapoor, a 19-year-old engineering student in Mumbai, who made the breakthrough that would turn the tide. In the midst of her symbiosis, Aisha's mind grasped something fundamental about the nature of psychic energy. As the PSI collective fleet entered Earth's atmosphere, Aisha reached out with her newfound powers and redirected an incoming psychic attack back at its source. The effect was explosive. The PSI collective ship, unprepared for its own mental assault, spiraled out of control. As it crashed into the Arabian Sea, Aisha's discovery spread through the global psychic network like wildfire. Across the planet, newly empowered humans, quickly dubbed slime slingers by the media, began to turn the tables on the invaders. What the slime slingers lacked in experience, they made up for in numbers and raw, untamed potential. In orbit, Jack Chen led a squadron of slime slingers in commandeered spacecraft. Their minds linked, they formed a psychic barrier that deflected the Psi Collective's most powerful attacks. On the ground, Kenji Sato coordinated a global defense network, his enhanced mind processing information from millions of sources simultaneously. Under his guidance, slime slingers across the planet targeted key weaknesses in the Psi Collective's strategy. But the battle was far from one-sided. The Psi Collective's mastery of psychic warfare was the product of millennia of development. For every victory the slime slingers claimed, they suffered painful setbacks. In Moscow, a team of slime slingers successfully repelled a Psi Collective assault, only to have their minds burned out by the backlash of their own untamed powers. In Rio de Janeiro, a Psi Collective psychic bomb wiped the memories of an entire city block. As the conflict raged, Dr. Samira Patel worked tirelessly to refine the slime symbiosis process, seeking ways to stabilize the human-Zarlian bond and unlock even greater potential. It was during one such experiment that Samira made a startling discovery. The Zarlians, long dismissed as powerless by the Psi Collective, weren't lacking in psychic ability. Their power had simply been expressed differently, through their incredible adaptability and biological plasticity. By combining this trait with human consciousness, the slime symbiosis had created something entirely new, a hybrid psychic ability that could adapt to and counter any threat. Armed with this knowledge, Samira reached out to Kenji through the psychic network. "We need to stop fighting their way," she insisted. "We need to embrace what makes us unique." Kenji understood immediately. Through the global link, he issued a new directive. Don't just deflect or attack. Adapt, evolve, become what they can't predict. The effect was immediate and stunning. Across the battlefield, slime slingers began to shift their tactics in ways that bewildered the Psi Collective. In Sydney, a team of slime slingers transformed a skyscraper into a massive psychic antenna, broadcasting feelings of peace and unity that confused and disoriented the invaders. In Cairo, another group created a psychic mirage of an entire phantom army, splitting the Psi Collective's forces. But it was in the skies above New York where the tide of battle truly turned. There, a young slime slinger named Miguel Reyes, faced with an overwhelming Psi Collective onslaught, did the unthinkable. Instead of fighting back, he opened his mind fully to the attackers. In that moment of connection, the Psi Collective experienced the full depth of human emotion, the richness of Earth's biosphere, and the unique synthesis of human and Zarlian consciousness. They felt Miguel's fear, his determination, his hope for the future, and his willingness to understand them in turn. The psychic shockwave of empathy and mutual comprehension rippled out from Miguel, touching slime slingers and PC Collective alike. Across the planet, the fighting stuttered to a halt as both sides reeled from the unexpected connection. In the silence that followed, the Overmind's voice echoed in every mind on Earth. We had not understood, it said, its mental tone thick with emotion. This symbiosis, it is not an abomination. It is beautiful. As the PSI Collective fleet withdrew, holograms appeared in skies worldwide. The Overmind, flanked by representatives of 100 psychic species, addressed the people of Earth. Humans, Zarlians, slime slingers, you have shown us a new path. We came as conquerors, but we leave as supplicants. Teach us. Join us. Together, we can forge a new future for all sentient beings. As the message faded, cheers erupted across the globe. Humans embraced their Zarlian partners, their bodies shimmering with shared jubilation. In the Integration Center in New Delhi, Samira and Jack watched in awe as the slime slingers began to explore the true extent of their new abilities. So, Jack said, a wry smile on his face, still nervous. Samira laughed, her eyes glowing with excitement and possibilities. Nervous? No. Exhilarated. Absolutely. This isn't the end, Jack. It's just the beginning. Above them, the stars seemed to pulse with new potential, promising a future where the boundaries between species, between mind and matter, between the possible and impossible, were waiting to be redefined. The Grand Galactic Forum buzzed with an energy unseen in millennia. Representatives from 1,000 worlds crowded the vast, holographic chamber, their forms ranging from the ethereal to the unimaginably alien. At the center of it all stood an unlikely trio. Dr. Samira Patel, her iridescent skin shimmering with Zarlian symbiosis. Kenji Sato, the young psychic prodigy whose mind now spanned solar systems. And the Overmind, its energy form pulsing with newfound humility. Order, boomed the voice of the forum's ancient moderator, a being of pure light. We convene to address the unprecedented events in Sol system and their implications for galactic society. As Samira stepped forward to speak, she marveled at the journey that had brought them here. In the months following Earth's victory and the PSI Collective's withdrawal, the ripples of change had spread faster than anyone could have predicted. Esteemed beings of the galaxy, Samira began, her voice carried by both sound and thought. We come before you not as conquerors or revolutionaries, but as catalysts. The union between humanity and the Zarlians has unlocked potential we're only beginning to understand. She gestured, and a holographic display sprang to life, showing the rapid advancements Earth had made. Cities transformed by psychic architecture that responded to the needs and emotions of its inhabitants. Diseases cured by healers who could restructure biology at the quantum level. Faster-than-light communication achieved through entangled consciousnesses. But our journey is not unique, Samira continued. Already, we've seen our discovery spark similar symbioses across the galaxy. The hologram shifted, showing scenes from a dozen worlds. On a gas giant, floating beings merged with the living storms of their atmosphere, gaining new mastery over wind and lightning. In the depths of an ocean world, a species long thought to be simple fish revealed complex psychic societies once they bonded with microscopic symbiotes. The PSI Collective long believed that psychic potential was a fixed quantity. The Overmind's voice resonated. We were wrong. The Zarlians, whom we dismissed as powerless, held the key to unlocking abilities beyond our imagining. Murmurs rippled through the assembled beings. A representative from a crystal-based hive mind chimed in. This is all fascinating, but also deeply concerning. You speak of fundamental changes to the nature of sentient life. How can we be sure this mingling is safe, that it won't lead to chaos? Kenji stepped forward, his eyes swirling with galaxies. Change always brings risk, he acknowledged. But it also brings opportunity. We're not advocating for the dissolution of individual species or cultures. Rather, we're proposing a new understanding of connection. He raised his hand, and the hologram transformed into a vast, shimmering network. Imagine a galactic society where communication barriers no longer exist, where the wisdom of eons can be shared instantly, where conflicts can be resolved through true understanding, not just negotiation. The chamber erupted in debate. Some representatives recoiled at the idea, fearing loss of identity or autonomy. Others leaned forward, intrigued by the possibilities. Amidst the chaos, a small, unassuming being floated forward. The chamber fell silent, for this was Ixix, representative of the Forgotten Ones, species long dismissed as evolutionary dead ends. "We have watched from the shadows." Ixix's voice whispered and boomed simultaneously. "Deemed powerless, like the Zaralians, but we too have gifts. Gifts that may flourish in symbiosis." Ixix extended a tendril, connecting with Samira's mind. In that moment of contact, knowledge flooded between them. Samira gasped, overwhelmed by visions of impossible technologies, of ways to harness the fundamental forces of the universe. As the connection broke, Samira steadied herself, her eyes wide. "The diversity we've long celebrated," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "It's more precious than we ever imagined. Every species, no matter how seemingly insignificant, holds pieces of the cosmic puzzle." The Overmind's form pulsed with excitement. "This changes everything. The computational power of a galaxy-wide symbiotic network. We could solve problems that have plagued us for eons. Entropy itself might be negotiable." But not everyone was convinced. A coalition of species known for their isolationist policies raised objections. And what of those who do not wish to participate in this grand experiment? Their spokesperson demanded, "Will we be left behind, forced to adapt or fade into obsolescence?" Kenji shook his head. "Forced symbiosis is no symbiosis at all. It must be a choice, freely made. But consider this. In a galaxy where psychic abilities are no longer the domain of a gifted few, where cooperation reaches across the boundaries of biology, can any species afford to remain isolated?" The debate raged for what felt like days, with passionate arguments on all sides. But as the discussion continued, a subtle shift began to occur. Representatives who had been staunchly opposed found their perspectives softening as they engaged in mental dialogue with symbiotic beings. Those who were uncertain felt their doubts addressed by the vast pool of shared experiences. Finally, the forum's moderator called for a vote. The chamber held its breath as the results were tallied. By a margin unprecedented in this forum's history, the moderator announced, "The motion to support and study galactic symbiosis passes." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of cheers, psychic pulses, and bioluminescent displays. But Samira knew this was only the beginning. In the years that followed, the galaxy underwent a transformation more profound than any in recorded history. The boundaries between species blurred as symbiotic bonds flourished. Worlds long thought uninhabitable blazed with new life as adaptive symbiotes allowed colonization of extreme environments. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were worlds that resisted, civilizations that viewed the symbiosis movement as a threat to their way of life. Rogue factions of the PC collective, unable to accept their loss of status, turned to psychic terrorism. Yet for every challenge, the growing symbiotic network found new solutions. Conflicts that might once have led to war were often resolved through deep multi-species diplomacy. Scientific breakthroughs came at an unprecedented pace as the collective knowledge of the galaxy was brought to bear on its greatest problems. Perhaps most profoundly, the nature of consciousness itself came into question. As bonds between species deepened, new forms of composite beings emerged. There were entities that spanned star systems, their thoughts carried on webs of entangled particles. Planetary minds awoke as entire biospheres achieved symbiotic harmony. Through it all, Earth remained at the heart of the transformation. The cradle of human Zaralian symbiosis became a beacon for species seeking to unlock their hidden potential. On a warm evening, years after the Grand Galactic Forum, Samira stood on the balcony of the Global Symbiosis Institute in New Delhi. Beside her, a shimmering form that was part Zarillian, part human, and somehow more than the sum of its parts. "Did you ever imagine it would come to this?" the being asked, its voice both familiar and alien. Samira smiled, her gaze taking in the city below, where humans walked alongside a dizzying array of alien visitors, all connected in ways she was still struggling to comprehend. "Never," she admitted. "But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? We've opened a door to a future none of us could have predicted. And the journey is only just beginning." As if in response, a new star blazed to life in the night sky, a signal from the galaxy's first truly composite civilization, reaching out to touch minds across the cosmos. The age of isolation was over. The age of union had begun, and the universe itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what this new interconnected galaxy would become.